the colonization, it talks about, excuse me, it talks about the people who are experiencing the marginalization at various level like culture, economy, as well as philosophy and all such things. So here there are two colonizers I would like to mention: settled colonizers and invaded colonizers. So Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and British are termed as settled colonizers. For the purpose of my presentation, I would like to highlight the invaded colonizers, because these are the people who want to highlight their own identity, who are struggling hard to highlight their own identity, even in their own land. That means people in India as well as in Africa. I hope we understand the suppression people who are facing in India as well as in Africa, because the post-colonialism with hyphen is a term explains and emphasizes the material effects of the historical facts of colonialism, as well as resisting an increasingly indiscriminate attention to cultural indifference as well as difference and marginality of all kinds. So cultural difference as well as the marginality focuses the main idea of presentation here. These are the dominant theorists and their concepts of post-colonialism. As you all know, it's a customary task to introduce these people to you people stalwarts. Edward Said, Homike Bhabha, Franz Fanon, and Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak. So these are all the dominant figures of as well as theories of post-colonial studies, and their concepts can be accepted as well as analyzed by all of us through the mirror of post-colonialism. Only based on the concepts of these four fellows, we can have, that means for the purpose of my presentation, I come to the conclusion of 7 slogans of post-colonialism for your better understanding. The concepts: Orientalism, ambivalence, mimicry, hybridity, binarism, negritude, subaltern.
Sorry to disturb you, madam. Madam, please change the slide.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
Please change the slide.
Is it okay, ma'am?
No, madam, it's not moving. We can see only first slide.
Now, ma'am?
No, madam, it's only first slide we can see.
Now, ma'am?
No, madam, it's the first slide only.
Yeah. Resume slideshow. That option is coming, resume slideshow.
Yes, I just clicked it. Resume share. Sir, shall I send my slide to you, sir?
Just yeah, ma'am.
Shall I send my slide to you, sir?
Yeah, please do that.
Sir, kindly check, sir. I sent through WhatsApp. Is it moving now, ma'am? Nidhi?
No, madam.
Okay. Is it moving now?
No, madam, it is the title page only, first slide.
It's not moving. Just have it.
Kapil sir, kindly unmute your-
Yeah, ma'am. I've just downloaded it from my mail. So I have to send it on the mail. I'll try to share it. I'm able to minimize my screen. I being Madam, I being the host now, I'm unable to minimize my screen. You cannot minimize Zoom when you are recording this meeting, he says. Okay. I have to stop the recording first.
Yes, madam, it's visible now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Kapil sir?
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Is it changing now, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your response. And these are the dominant theorists and their concepts. Am I audible too?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Okay, fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible now.
Yes, ma'am. We have stopped sharing. Yeah.
Yes. So, as we mentioned earlier, these are the four dominant theories, and their concepts can be accepted universally. And for my presentation, through their concepts only, I drag 7 slogans of post-colonialism. So, look at these terminologies: Orientalism, ambivalence, mimicry, hybridity, binarism, negritude, and subaltern. So the Orientalism, I hope all of you have heard about this terminology, Orientalism, because it is a term, it is a critical concept. It is not at all a term, it is a critical concept to describe the West's commonly contemptuous description and portrayal of the West. That means contemptuous description. So we couldn't digest this contemptuous description as well as the portrayal of the East. That means West description of the East. That is the idea stressed in this term, Orientalism. Next thing, ambivalence. It is a state of having mixed feelings, which is contradiction in its basic ideas of something or someone. So that means contradiction here, we have our own contradiction, contradictory values and emotions and ideas based on the emotions and ideas prevailing in Western countries, especially in the West. Third thing, mimicry. So mimicry is nothing but an imitation of the West of the East. So in order to highlight ourselves, especially we want to highlight ourselves through that means through culture, through language, and through economy as well as. So these are the areas that we want to highlight ourselves while we are comparing our lifestyles with the Western people. So for that, we are in a position to mimic them. That means imitating them. So post-colonial period, that means post-colonialism paves the way for the imitation. Even I would like to quote an example from R.K. Narayan's, not R.K. Narayan's, here, Mulkraj Anand's work, Untouchable. So in that novel itself, we may find some mimicry of Baka while he is doing all sorts of routine in his life, because without having a coffee, he doesn't initiate his own profession as a scavenger in that novel. As well as he imitates the way the Western people used to have their own or enjoying their own pipes. So that sort of imitation we enjoy this post-colonial era. Next thing, hybridity. It is also a cross between two separate races, cultures, and economic status. So hybridity is an inevitable terminology we must face nowadays, especially in the 21st century. We couldn't escape ourselves from the hybridity because we are in a position to move with this word hybridity. Even for organizing conferences too, we are following the same mode, hybrid mode. We need both offline as well as online presentation as well as presence of human beings. So hybridity is not a new terminology or a new concept. It is a concept which came when human beings begin their lifestyle. That's it. Next thing, binarism. Binarism is nothing but a combination of two things. A pair, that means it highlights the value of duality. We couldn't fit ourselves in one particular nation or in one particular idea or in one particular concept. So binarism is a needy thing which comes under the post-colonial concepts. And negritude. Negritude is a movement which is emerging from the group of Black thinkers and artists in US. It is originated its nature in New York, and during 1920s. So negritude is a highlightable movement, especially for Black people, for their own survival and for their own identity. They need this concept of negritudism. And then subaltern. A subaltern is nothing but, as you people said, the dominance of or exploitation of power on powerless. For that, we can have so many examples in literature too. This subaltern is a umbrella term under this term, we can have so many deviations like subject, object, east, west, and then that means self, other, and all such things. Self, other, minority, majority, center, and marginalized. These are all the terms comes under this one umbrella term, subaltern. This is the terminology used and highlighted by Gayatri Spivak. While I read this terminology, being a student of literature, and my topic of MPhil is Vijay Tendulkar's plays, I quote one thing from Vijay Tendulkar's play Kamla. Kamla, there subaltern is nothing but a suppression or exploitation or dominance of something. That means we treat our fellow beings as an object, not a subject. That's it. So in that play, Kamala, there is a wondering thing. We may feel that a person who can go and get a woman just like he can get a fish in the fish market. That means there women are treating as an object, not as a subject. They are an object here. So subalternity is nothing but a suppression of a power on powerless. So here we have so many distinctions, not only based on the colonizer and colonized. We can have the self and other, minority and majority, and then the center and the marginalization. That's it. Based on these concepts, I would like to quote and I would like to introduce the 7 slogans of mine for the purpose of the presentation. So these are all the 7 slogans based on the concepts of post-colonialism of these 4 theorists. The first one is resist. We need, that means people in the post-colonial era believes resistance, because that is the only solution to exhibit their survival. That means existence, resistance for their existence. For this that means resistance, concept of resistance, we can get an example from the sufferings of the people from Dalit communities. For that, I would like to quote the racial colonialism we come across even in India before the colonization. In Aryans and Dravidians, the racial colonialism between Aryans and Dravidians, even people from India, especially from the subcaste as well as the race below, people from race below. We should not say that, no way to identify them. That's it. So here, Dalit people from low birth, they recognized like that. They are suffering a lot in the hands of upper class Hindus. So that resistance is not only fixed or a fit concept in the post-colonial era itself. It is a concept based on the race or the dominance of people between 2 different segments, the power as well as powerless, or white race or black race, Aryans, Dravidians, and whatever they are. Even we can take an example from Mahashweta Devi too, because in her writings, there is a famous short fiction, Rudali. There we have, and we find professional mourners. Both women and men from low status of their birth. People are treated like anything like merely an animals, because emotion comes from our heart in a natural way. In that Rudali, those fellows are treated as professional mourners. Implied meaning is there. The Hindus are, that means the high class Brahmin Hindus, or they want to retain their position even among the public. They don't want to shed their tears. They don't want to express their emotions in a free way. These are the troubles they are facing. even in their birth, even in their birth level. That means they are just like the people in high position. These people, Rudalis and Randis. Randis also you may come across in that novel by, that means short fiction by Mahashweta Devi. So Rudalis and Randis, their lifestyle is so pathetic, and their emotions are valueless in such works. Even we may quote the writings of Meena Kandasamy too for the concept of resistance, because Dalit suppression is a predominant suppression we are facing in this post-colonial era too. They are struggling hard to get their resistance. That means to get their existence, to exhibit their existence, to show their identity. But in general, those people are suppressed again and again in somehow or other through various positions of society. That means cultural, linguistic, economic, psychological, societal. These are the suppressions they are facing even now. And next thing, revolt. Here, revolt, again, I want to stress two different angles. The revolt, their revolt against, that means suppressed people's revolt against the powerful people. That means the people who are in that authoritative position. That means authoritative people. And again, suppression here, revolt against patriarchal society. Patriarchal society, because India is a land we faced so many things like a sati and child marriage, as well as a female infanticide. Now very recently we are having the terminology honor killing for the purpose of their own communal sake, for the purpose of retaining their own family status. They practice in India, in most of the places, they practice that honor killing. That means if a girl or a boy in a family who falls in love with a boy or a girl in some other's family who belongs to the societal, who belongs to the community, which is considered as low rank in the society. So they never allow them as a married couple. They stop their relationship, they stop their life, they stop their survival, and immediately they want to hide their love making, as well as in order to protect their own family status, they practice honor killing. So these are the issues comes under this terminology, revolt. And assert. Third thing is assert. So assert here, in the post-colonialism, in the era of post-colonialism, each and every land, especially India and Africa, struggling hard. These two countries are struggling hard to retain their identity in the society. That means native identity, cultural identity, linguistic identity, even geographical identity. So these are the identities they want to retain, and they consider these identities are their asserts. So this is the thing we can analyze in this assert. Then self-represent. Self-represent is nothing but they want to represent their own lifestyle, they want to represent their own culture, they want to represent their own land, as well as the customs, beliefs, rights which are practiced by themselves in their lands. They want to represent by themselves in their writings. That is self-representation. That means self-represent. And then rewrite. So for example, rewrite, we can have an example from the writings of V.S. Naipaul as well as R.K. Narayan in India, as well as we can get a example of writings of Chinua Achebe and then Ngugi wa Thiong'o, because they want to rewrite their own writings. They did it too, because Chinua Achebe is a writer who wants to highlight his own cultural, his own traditional values through his writings by using the universal language, that is English. But
अच्छा,
on the other
ठीक है,
hand,
2 मिनट। हाँ, ठीक है, ठीक है।
excuse me,
Ma'am, excuse me. Hello.
excuse me, sir, do you want
Yeah,
anything?
ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, again, slides are not moving. Shall we share it for you?
Sir, isn't moving?
No, it's not. But again, we have that dominant theorist and their concepts. The same slide is there.
So kindly share the screen.
Yeah.
Kapil sir.
Yeah, you stop sharing screen. We will share it, ma'am.
Okay, thank you then.
Yeah.
May I know your name, please? Can I share my screen to you?
Yeah, Kapil Singhel.
Okay, sir, I just share, sir. Sixth one, sir. Yes, sixth one.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your kindness. And here, rewrite here, they want to highlight their own language.
Is
They want to highlight their own identity. They want to highlight their own individuality through their writings. So these are the difference we may come across between these two writers, Shinwashbi and Gathiango. The next thing, black is beautiful. This is the sixth slogan in post-colonialism. Black is beautiful, not in beautiful. It is wrongly typed. Black is beautiful because it is a movement, cultural movement. Black is beautiful is a cultural movement which is started in US in 1960s by African Americans in order to highlight their own color, in order to highlight their own race, in order to highlight their own identity. They highlight this terminology. They introduced this movement, cultural movement. Black is beautiful. And again, the last movement of, that means the last slogan of the post-colonialism is decolonized. This is what we need in this 21st century, decolonized. Decolonize the mind and English studies. So next screen, please. So next slide, please. Here, I would like to list out some works which are based on the post-colonial slogans: resist, revolt, assert, self-represent, rewrite, black is beautiful, and decolonized. So next slide, please. Kapil sir. Kapil sir, next slide, please. There are some texts I have included in the slides. Here, post-colonialism deals with the issues of cultural diversity, ethnic, racial, cultural difference, and the power relations within them. So these are the ideas which I want to stress here through these works. Dear participants, can you see the works? The cover page of the books?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Still stuck
No.
on the slogan. Stuck on the slogans.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Visible.
Yes, thank you. So here, the question of resistance remain relevant in a broader sense, as well as broader debate about the relationship between the Western academy and post-colonial people. Here, these are the texts I would like to highlight uh, in my presentation by towing the concepts of 7 slogans. Look at the very first text, Gugiwa Thiango's Devil on the Cross. Here, the devil can be represented as the powerful people who are in authoritative position, who are exploiting the laborers, who are exploiting the powerless people through their dominance, exactly. So here it is a Kenyan novel. It is originally written in the Kenya. That means originally written in Gikuyu language that is practiced in Kenya. The writer very consciously focusing his own identity even in his writings, because there is a gap between local product and international practices of uh, consuming that product. That's it. So just as I said earlier, Chinua Achebe highlights his own identity, his own tradition, his own African culture through his writings, only based on or the help of the English language, international language that is consumed universal language, consumed as universal language. But here, Gugi Thiango highlights his own culture, and he wants to highlight his own culture, he wants to highlight his own identity through his own language. That is the speciality he possesses in this writing, Devil on the Cross. Whatever its function as an academic discourse, we need to ask how well it has served to empower post-colonial intellectuals. That means assisted in implementing strategies of decolonization. That is an idea stressed here in this Devil on the Cross through his writing, because this is a novel. It can be translated. It has been translated into English by the writer himself. He wants to express his own emotion as a Kenyan writer in his own native language to his own people, as well as he wants to highlight his own identity to the world, all over the world. Through that, he uses the tool English as a medium. That's it. So that shows his particular identity. Again, we may come to the next work of Thiango itself, Decolonizing the Mind. It's nothing but a collection of essays about language and its construction and its constructive role in national culture, history, and identity. So through one's own identity, one can retain its position or survival or existence in society. That means in the world. That means in the world. So next thing, Gayatri Spivak's Can the Subaltern Speak? Can the Subaltern Speak? It tries to overthrow the binary opposition, as I mentioned earlier, the subject and object, self and other, Occident and Orient, center, marginalized, and minority and majority. So these are all the concepts she wants to highlight, and she wants to introduce herself on the basis of gender and sexual difference in her work. So subaltern, according to Spivak, is those who belong to third world countries. It is impossible for them to speak up as they are divided by gender, class, and race, caste, religion, and other narratives. So here the predominant thing is national identity, and the narratives of one's own nation is highlightable wherever we are and whatever we write. These divisions do not allow them to stand up in unity. So only fixing our own identity or holding our own identity paves the way for our unity in diversity. That is the idea stressed here. A very general terminology used in this Can the Subaltern Speak is white men saved brown women from brown men. So here the color is highlightable thing to appreciate and to value the emotions and lifestyle of human beings. Next thing, here, text mentioned in the slide is, no, sir, previous slide, please. A black skin, white mass. This is a work by Franz Fanon. It is published in 1952. And Fanon shares his own experiences while presenting a historical critique of the effects of racism and dehumanization. That is the result of lacking of identity, the dehumanization, inherent in situations of colonial dominance on the human psyche. There is a double process that is economic and internalized, the epidermalization of inferiority. So the violence of the colonizer through annihilation of body, psyche, culture, along with the demarcation of space. And secondly, the violence of the colonized as an attempt to retrieve dignity, sense of self and history through the struggle of the colonial struggle, through the colonial struggle. That's it. So here, black skin, white mask. Look at the very title, black skin, white mask. As I mentioned at the very first slide of mine, mimicry here, highlightable thing, mimicry. We are imitating the white people. We are imitating them for our status of superiority, because we always consider them as superior people. No, not like that. We people are the superior people through our own culture, through our own identity, through our own status too. Because we people are abide by the culture bound people. So we are the superior people comparatively. So we should not allow the West to dominate us. Here, black skin, white mask is like that. In order to highlight their own, in order to hide their black and brown identity, they wear their white mask to exhibit themselves as superior people in this world. So here, this is a concept which is highlightable in colonial era. That's it. That means post-colonial era. These are the general thinking, because we often think that color matters. Wherever we go, color matters. That is not a negligible thing, as we understand. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, sir. Kapil, sir. Here, look at the works mentioned in this page. There are some important works highlighted here. Namesake. So in that Namesake, this is a novel which is initially highlighting the hybrid attitude of lifestyle of people who came from Bengal. That means Calcutta. So how far they are experiencing their hybrid attitude, that means hybrid way of lifestyle from Calcutta to Massachusetts is a notable thing in this novel Namesake. So here we can also experience the pan-Indian women emotions, the way she is expecting such concern from the elders of the family in Massachusetts, and that protagonist Ashok and Ashima Ganguly, they are always focusing, they are always thinking about, their mind is always waving or streaming from Calcutta to Massachusetts, because during her pregnancy too, she thinks about her own parents' concern and how far they are celebrating their bangle wearing ceremony and naming ceremony and all such things. So these are all the missing elements we are focusing or we are practicing. If we are practicing hybridity, that's it. The next thing, the shadow lines. It describes, it is a 1988 novel, and it describes the memories of those who involved in the colonial movement, colonial period, that means partition period, and it holds the memories of the sufferings of the people who are undergone those sufferings in that era, especially in that particular era. and it is a shade of the same experience, which are shared by the people uh, through their orature as well as in their mind level too. That's it. And the next thing, again, Boogie Watiangusa, the river between. The river between. So this is a novel, talks about the struggle of a young leader, Vayaki, who struggles hard to unite two villages of uh, Kamino and Makuyu through sacrifice and pain. So this is the thing. So a river can be symbolized as unity as well as diversity. Here the two villages are practicing two different culture, and they are struggling hard to prove their identity. They are struggling hard to prove their survival as well as their revolutionary ideas, cultural challenges they are facing in their traditional way of life. So here the division cast by these two communities who were affected by their customs and traditions, who are struggling hard in their survival on two opposite sides of the same river. Therefore, although the river united the two villages on its shores, it also served as a symbolic division, that means divide between them and their opposing perspectives on European colonialism. And next thing, the transcription here of identities by V.S. Naipaul. The transcription of identities explores the process of post-colonial subjects' special route of identification. Again, wherever we go, we want to retain our own identity and our own existence. For that, we have to revolt and resist to our satisfactory level of lifestyle. That means living. The old notion of identity as a prescribed and self-sufficient entity has now been replaced by a conception of, that means concept of literature among other artistic forms, is one of the most representative reflections of the floating identity today is the post-colonial literature. So these are the texts I want to highlight. These are the texts I want to These are the texts I would like to highlight to your better understanding of the post-colonialism in the 21st century. Next slide, please.
Next slide now, Kichina. Oh, thank you.
No, there is a slide, post-colonialism in the 21st century. Yes, these are the things I want to highlight. Post-colonialism in the 21st century. Look at these 5 things. Excuse me, post-colonialism and cultural studies. Post-colonialism and cultural studies brings to cultural focus, that means cultural studies, its own well-established concept of diversity, particularity, and local difference. The global term culture becomes comprehensible as a multiplicity of local cultures. So while we are practicing the local culture under the umbrella term post-colonialism, it supports and encourages that most cultures, that means there is no supportable distribution as well as distinction between high and low culture, wherever or whoever the people are, or whatever their culture is. So the post-colonialism in the 21st century encourages the culture in general, not as low as well as high culture, as we practiced in the earlier lifestyle of Indians, especially in India. That means the racial colonialism between Aryans and Dravidians. So there is no such bar between culture as low and high in this post-colonialism of 21st century. The next thing, post-colonialism and the local. The importance of the worldly affiliation of the text meant that the study of local condition was always important in post-colonialism, era of post-colonialism, because local exhibits, local spreads the universality. That is an idea stressed here. That means worldliness, worldliness. In the context of globalization, analysis of local cultural production and specific social and historical developments are becoming more and more important. Thus, post-colonial society shared the strategies for engaging colonial power, and this theory will remain useful to the analysis of the local culture, local tradition, local language, and local lifestyle to spread the post-colonialism in the 21st century. That means universality, worldliness. To the whole, we people are leading the same life. We people are practicing the same culture. We people are practicing the same tradition according to our own whims and wishes, based on our own place, that means land. Next, there comes post-colonialism and the environment. Land is an important thing in post-colonial era. And we want, there we may come across eco-colonialism here, eco-colonialism, because land plays an important role to identify oneself. That's why we highlight ourselves by naming our own land, like India, Africa, America, and all such things. And next thing, post-colonialism and the sacred. For that, I would like to quote an example from Oli Soyinka's dramas, the sacred, how far post-colonialism encourages the sacredness in society. So he encourages the sacred attitude of Yoruba culture, sacredness of Yoruba culture in his writings, especially in his play, the strong breed, I think. Yes, the strong breed. So in that, the carrying of boat is a major symbol of carrying a sin of the local people. That there lies their sacredness. There lies their belief of God and their own tradition. So post-colonialism paves the way for that sacredness too. At the end of the 20th century, we can have a debate about the sacredness, because sacred have become more and more urgent as issues such as land rights and rights to sacred beliefs and practices begin to grow in importance in the 21st century post-colonialism. Sacredness is that much of importance we must face, and we have to practice and adapt, hold our own identity through our sacredness, because it has been, that means sacredness has been an empowering feature of post-colonial experience in two ways, two different ways. One hand, an indigenous concept of sacredness, which have been able to interpol dominant conceptions of cultural identity. And on the other hand, the sacredness depends on, or that means falls on, the other Western forms of the sacredness, which have been appropriated and appreciated and transformed as a means of local empowerment. An analysis of the sacred have been one of the most neglected and maybe one of the most rapidly expanding area of post-colonial study in the 21st century. The last one, post-colonialism and the globalization. So this is the basic need from the process of cultural imperialism, hybridization and diffusion, relativization, interrelationship of global societies, and the compression of the world. We are in need of post-colonialism and the impact of globalization. That means we can easily club these two terminologies for the sake of post-colonialism in the 21st century as globalization. From the local, we can identify, we can exhibit our culture, language, tradition to the global. That means globalization. So intensification of the consciousness of the world as a whole. So in order to highlight one's own local identity, one's own local uniqueness of lifestyle, We want to spread our locality to the world and make it as a globalization. That means to highlight post-colonialism and the globalization. So literature as a study which includes its own specific national, cultural, and political grounding and offers itself as a new system for the development of universal human values as exploded by the existence of the post-colonial literature. So the theoretical issues raised by the post-colonial theory, questions of resistance, power, ethnicity, nationality, and language and culture, or the transformation of dominant discourses by ordinary people, provide important models of understanding the place of the local in an increasing globalized world. So with these few words, I would like to give a light on the post-colonialism and its impact on the 21st century. So generally it highlights the decolonization of our mindset. Thank you so much for your patient listening, and thank you so much for giving me this wonderful opportunity to thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Any ma'am started with the basic meaning of post-colonialism by introducing us to colonization and the difference between post-colonialism with hyphen and without hyphen. And it was without hyphen, post-colonialism, that she has dealt with in this presentation. It is about cultural, it was about cultural difference and the ideas of marginalization. We were introduced to certain people who have given us important theories of post-colonialism: Edward Said, Homi Bhabha, Fanon, and Spivak, Gayatri Spivak. During this era of post-colonization, we have revolt of suppressed people against the authorities. We have honor killing. Then the slogans of post-colonialism: resist, revolt, assert, and a few more. She gave us the list of the books that represent, which are representatives of post-colonialism, and she ended with the five important aspects that with which the post-colonialism is related: cultural studies, local, environment, sacred, and globalization. So on behalf of the participants and the HRD of Rashtrasan Tukaji Maharaj Nagpur University, I appreciate ma'am's sparing of this hour for us in her busy schedule. She is shortly facing NAC. NAC is visiting her college, and in spite of her busy schedule, ma'am has given us the time on this day. So I thank you, ma'am, once again, and declare that the session is over.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, ma'am. And so the next session will start at 2:30. So you can have a break of around 20 minutes. We'll meet again at
Can I leave now?
Yeah, ma'am, you can leave. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And participants, the next session is at 2:30. So we'll start at 2:25. We'll meet again at 2:25. You can have a break.
Thank you, sir.